Okay. There he is.
Yada yada.
Hey, Colin.
Yeah.
This one's a different picture of you.
Yeah.
I don't get it, but it is what it is, and apparently my camera isn't working either, so.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'll hand it off to Sahaja.
Right. So this presentation is about what I heard about Ansible containers and Ansible Fest, San Francisco. So to start off with, it was presented by Greg. He's kind of like the head of the community, and they they actually did a survey on what are the top orchestration tools they used in the company, and the survey results were kind of interesting. Let's look at Cobbler, and it's at 2% there, and the highest was Kubernetes, and that's what they expected, and the second highest is Ansible. That was totally unexpected. So when they checked out with the users on the reason for this, they kind of used Ansible as a glue. I mean, they haven't used Ansible alone as an orchestration product, but they used Ansible with Docker or Ansible Kubernetes, Ansible Mesos together. I mean, Ansible plus a unique tool. So they came up with the idea on like why not just build containers with Ansible playbook, and that way you do not have to worry about the bash thing, the scripting or the weird syntax, and because people kind of got used to the Ansible playbook YAML, and that's like plain English and so easy to define and easy to understand, and those are the three words which they go to: agentless, powerful, and what's the other one? Ansible's tagline, you would say agentless, powerful, and idempotent or something.
That's YAML all the time.
Yeah. So that means, and when they had discussion between the Docker and Ansible people, and Docker says no to SSH, you can't SSH to Docker containers, but the people are like, well, we're going to use Ansible inside the container, and you're just going to do SSH anyways because we wanted to use Ansible, and that's a bad idea. So they came up with something called Docker connection plugin, where it kind of simulates the SSH, but it uses Docker execs instead of SSH, and it's good. And no more bash, no more SSH, and it's cloud deployment ready. You can do build, run, push, and ship it. I'm gonna go over those in a minute. And if we have to start with Ansible container, just before the day of presentation, they did a PyPy install of Ansible container. That means it's very, very new. It's probably like 3 months of deployment. And so we can do PyPy or pip install Ansible container now. And it's going to create, when you do Ansible container in it, it's going to create a directory called Ansible. And you would have container.yml, main.yml, requirements.txt.
So this is exactly analogous to Galaxy Init.
Yeah, exactly.
So you go to Galaxy Init, it creates all these subdirectories and a bunch of main.ymls that are the most known.
Right. So this container.yml, this is like the heart of the Ansible container, where you have, you can think of it like Docker Compose. It basically has details about what images you will build, what are the versions of it, and when you push it, where do you want to push it to? Like, kind of like the registry details in it. So it's basically the heart of the Ansible container. And coming down to the main.yml, It's Ansible playbook that you want to run against the container. When it's up, you want to run something, and that goes into this main environment. You can think it of like a Docker file, but in the Ansible playbook style. And each module has its own requirements, set of Python dependencies, and it's same like the pip install requirements which we do, and that goes into the requirements.txt there. Okay, so these are the commands that they just quickly ran through. It probably took like 10 minutes in the Ansible Fest, where they didn't do a demo as such, but they kind of ran through what things build, run, and push commands do. So once you do init and once you're done with coding and when you want to build, you have to execute something like Ansible container build, which is similar to building the images, which checks or fetches the images from container.yml, which you take, and it runs the main.yml. That's the Ansible playbook, which you run inside the container. And what's interesting is, but once you're done with it, it's gonna commit the latest layers to Ansible containers, so it saves it. So when you run, it's not going to build from the scratch again. It commits the latest SHA to the image layer, but that means you will have the base image retained. Apart from that, you have the changes like as I'll go over it once I do the demo, so that will be clear. But it will also let the users do build from scratch if they want to, and that's up to the user. And coming to Ansible Container Run, it's similar to Docker Compose up. You can think of it like running or orchestrating the containers. And push is similar to pushing it to the registry, but when you compare it with Docker, you can just push it to one registry. Unlike here, you can push it to multiple registries. It can be public or private, doesn't matter, but you can push it to. And just remember that all of the registries information go into the container.yml again. And ship it actually provides you Ansible role ready to ship. I haven't gone through the ship it yet because it's quite new, and you'll get to know when I do the demo. So it launches container and runs build containers with container.yml, and in Ansible container run they have this dev override value. So if you want something more specific, like if you want to change a particular parameter or variable in there, instead of rebuilding the entire image, you can just specify it in dev overrides, and that's kind of very handy. And some of the things like production has different things compared to development, and you can have different configurations in dev and production, and you can specify something like production to pull the production configuration. That way you're not messing around with the development configurations anymore. And push sends the latest build image to container registry and ship it. It actually generates an Ansible role.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of cool, but I haven't tried it out. Okay, so before I do the demo, these are the limitations I'm gonna go over. So this is pre-release. That's very soon. That's less than 3 months old, and it's 0.1 version. So
Yeah, at Ansible Fest, they said we released this like an hour ago.
yeah,
Literally.
yeah, and lots of bugs. And Ansible actually goes with this idea of release early, release often. So
Fix
I think
much
that's
later.
the reason where that's the reason why you see more bugs with the feature. And they actually do not support version 2 of Docker Compose, where the main piece of networking goes into the version 2, and that's where I was stuck with. There's an open issue on this one. Network doesn't work, but I'll kind of show you on how the Docker Compose and how I managed to enter into Ansible container, but I don't have the working demo yet because I couldn't do the networking stuff because of this thing. I could just do Ansible container build. I could not run it or push it or ship it yet. Um, so since we are not using SSH and we are using that Docker connection plugin, uh, sudo or synchronize doesn't work. Meaning main.yml when you're executing something, and if you want to execute anything as sudo or synchronize, it doesn't work since it needs SSH. But luckily, there are some workarounds for it. You can get over it. And I couldn't find lots of good documentation because that's where they're lacking, and they admitted it up front in Ansible Fest. And they actually announced the happy path working in the Ansible Fest, but it doesn't completely work. Probably it's because they are in rapid development. Whenever I look at the repo, it's an hour ago. There's a commit an hour ago, or probably a couple of hours ago. So it might break something. So at the moment I did demo, it did not work.
Do they have unit tests?
No.
They don't. They didn't put unit tests in their repo.
No.
Oh my god.
They're not publishing it.
They're following the Ansible way.
Yeah.
Break early, break often.
Yeah.
But they're doing a lot more testing,
Yeah.
Oh my god.
which is a lot more, which is a lot more than none. So they're doing a lot more.
I thought they had a lot of money now. They can afford proper
You
QA.
actually have
Yeah.
VMs now.
So actually, there are like 14 contributors to this Ansible container repo. Probably it's going up now. I haven't checked today.
Now, is this like an Ansible sponsored project, or is it just something somebody came up with?
This is Ansible sponsored. Yeah. Yeah. And again, since they are against using SSH, they kind of built this Docker connection plugin to talk to their containers, and that's where some of the limitations come from as well. And time for a demo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pray.
Pray? Yes. Okay.
Nothing on
So-
my sleeve.
So let me show. Okay. So I actually left these here because I wanted. Initially, I started off with Docker Compose, and I slowly migrated to doing Ansible container thing. So I left these around so we can quickly compare and get the feel of it. So, and all of these things like I wanted requirements.txt and app.py to be used in the container, so I paste them in the files folder and it looks for it by default there. And these are the ones I used for Docker Compose. So let's quickly check the Docker Compose. This is Docker Compose. So this is what it looks like when I do Docker Compose. Let me do Docker Compose. Oh, good thing. Thanks to Bert. Before, I actually used Docker Machine in my Mac, and for some reason it messed up. And I actually found beta of Docker Compose, and all I have to do this is just click it, and it's going to do this. So I can quickly restart, do whatever I can. This is so handy, and this is so powerful. I like it. It's beta, but I like it so much. Okay, so I'm doing a Docker Compose first. Okay. So I used web. This is the Docker image I used, and for Redis, that's the Redis, and load balancer is Docker Cloud, AJ proxy, and these are the network stuffs which went through and which doesn't work in Ansible container. So let's give it some time. Okay. So when I hit 0.0.0, it says, hello, my host name is this. And I scaled it up to 5, so you can see this changes. Yeah. So I'm shutting it down. Okay. And okay, let's also go over. This is the Docker Compose, and this is the Docker file where I actually add the requirements, do pip install requirements, and I just run this app.py.
Wait, which one was that we were just looking at?
What's that?
What was the last file we were looking at?
Oh, that's the Docker file.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So once the container is all up, it's
Right.
gonna execute these things, and that's how we used in Docker Compose.
Right.
And when I slowly migrated it to Ansible container, I did Ansible container init, which kind of created this Ansible folder, and container.yml. Okay. Okay. Container .yml and main.yml and requirements. So in the requirements, I added Flask Redis, and that by default takes care by the requirements for your Ansible container builder. You do not have to include Ansible. That's taken care of by default. And let's look at the container.yml. This very much looks similar to Docker Compose. I kind of had this, since I could not get version 2 of Docker Compose running, I had to do dev overrides with network things here. So I did that, and apart from that, that's pretty much whatever I have. And this is like the default container YML I got when I did init. And here, if you want, you can specify the registry information. I'm not doing it because I haven't gone through the push yet.
Could you explain the registries real quick? I mean, what are you registering?
So if you've used Docker,
I've never. So. I know it's a Docker thing, but
That's where you put your images.
Yeah.
Docker.
Like a repository.
it's a repository of images.
yeah.
Okay.
So this is my private registry I created, and I can do something like Docker pull this image, and it fetches from this image. So it has all of the images. This is my private repository, so it has some public repositories, so you can pull or push to these hubs.
Okay.
So you can basically add the registry information here. For the working versions, they don't support all of the registries as of now. I suppose they do Google registries. I guess they haven't have the working versions of all registries yet. So this goes into the container YML, and this main.yml is the playbook which you want to run once the container is running. And by default, it could fetch the host from this one. So it could fetch the host somewhere in web, Redis, LB, and you can have it specified like when you compare it to Docker file, I just want to run this in web. You can do something like this, and this is I took a lightweight image, this Docker Cloud Hello World. So the package manager for it is APK. So I did APK. And then this is just like your plain Ansible playbook where you kind of have the host, tasks, and names, and you can specify whatever you want to. So if you compare with the Docker file, have I did add requirements. That means copy requirements.txt to my destination. Sorry, was it okay? And then add app. That's what I wanted. And it looks by default here in the files. And if it's somewhere outside, it doesn't. So I had to copy them here. And then I do start app daemon. So I just do this. This is like the shell script, like plain old Ansible playbook, whatever you want to define it here. And okay, let's do. I'm doing it in debug mode just so we get more information here. Uh, so it went through the container YML. It did pull images. Let's see here. Actually does the same thing how we do in the Docker Compose. So here, so container is ready, and here it's trying to execute the playbook. It did Python install. It did this. Yeah, that's what it uses. Okay, it did copy requirements. It copied app. It installed Python requirements. Good. And it successfully installed it. Right. Okay. And it did start app daemon, and let's look at the standout. It says running HTTP 5000, press Control C to hit. That's good. It started that for us. And look at this. So committing image, exporting Docker Compose web with this image. So the last state of it, it commits to the Docker image.
Why is that same ID?
So it commits to that image, and when you build it again, when you run it, it's gonna fetch from the last point. And if you want, you can do it from scratch, and there are a couple of other options I haven't explored. And let's look at the images. We have nothing because it did all of these and then it cleared it up. So
contain Docker images.
yeah, Docker images. Yeah, but I just want to see it has lots of other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And this is the shell. There. Okay. So ideally, I can do run. And there it says unsupported config option networks, and I could not do run actually. And okay. Yeah, that's it. So it just does build. It's not running it at that point of time.
Right.
Okay. Also, it just creates the image, but you have to do, how do you run it from Ansible?
I would have to do run.
But it doesn't support the network.
It doesn't
Okay.
support the networks, and I couldn't do that. I could have taken a simple thing, but I wanted to do the network so I could hit the URL and
Right.
see what's happening. But
So you can see like
yeah,
comparison.
right. So I could not do it. So when I actually did this, probably I think last week or something, it was done bug was still outstanding, and they wanted to add more features.
That would be a nice feature to have.
Yeah,
Networks.
and they have an open bug. probably people are working on it. Right now, they just say they don't support version 2 of Docker Compose. That means it doesn't support networks. So that's how it is. So that's where the limitations are. And yeah, so that's one thing. And I also wanted to talk about a little bit about Ansible Tower 3 that will in Ansible Fest. And these are the new things added in Ansible Tower 3. They reworked not a lot. It's good. And then the permissions on the job. So before it was if you have to give permissions to someone, you have to give permissions to the project, the job, everything. But now we have granular permissions, like you could just execute permissions or view permissions or run permissions. So if you give permissions to the job, it doesn't have access to the credentials or manage the job template or something. So that's nice. And they have the built-in notifications now, email, Slack, chat, lots of other things. That's kind of cool. And yeah, those are the custom runtime configurations I was referring to, like execute permissions, view permissions. And I just wanted to show you, doing it again.
Which tower version are you on?
Yeah, I actually took the show. So this is one of the Ansible tower which we installed, and this is not the latest one. This is two. This is
Okay.
2.4.5.
Like I do use cow cells there.
Yeah, and actually, last time we had a discussion about the version, and they work lots of this UI. It opens up an unknown tab, but here you get to see real-time results. Okay. So this is the Ansible version which we are running, and it's not quite like whatever tower version we are doing, but I don't know on how it handles with Ansible Tower 3 version. I'm hoping it would be the same. It's not quite carried through
Yeah,
what
my
version.
understanding is
Yeah.
totally separate.
Yeah. So that's good. And I think that's all. Questions?
So they do have it, but it's 41.8% coverage.
Is that what they're planning?
Well, it's coverage
For the container.
Ansible container. And then most of the commands are known.
Yeah.
The main file engine UI.
Also, they have implemented features in all those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like networks. Now, what about regular?
It's probably like less than 10%.
Yeah, that sounds like that. I'm being optimistic.
I don't know if they even provide it. Nope, no coverage. Run, fail. So
That's a good way of hiding.
But to be fair, this container stuff is so new that they could build in testing from the ground up.
Yeah, it looks like that's what at least they're off to a better start.
Yeah.
So that's
They have
promising.
some retro, they do things just to test them.
Build it. It's like saying, oh, let's do the QA after everything's built.
That's the way we all used to do it.
Lost a lot of hair.
Yeah, especially because then all that pressure was on QA. Hurry up and test it. We didn't release this.
Who's that guy? There was this Macy's VP of QA or something. Some guy told me about this, my relative. He said the reason he became VP is because he just said, oh, it passes. Everything passes. The web QA or something. So he became VP because his boss liked him.
But what about when things fail? Or did he just get lucky?
The system APEC manager saying, oh yeah, we didn't pass that. You know, network stuff.
Well, it passed all the tests. They have.
Except for, you know, the other stuff. That's my fun.
Get requests. Without registers.
I wanted to find out more about Arush's butterfly.
Actually, can you go into the slide where it had the graph of all the different? Yeah. I'm just curious to see what else.
Chef is there. It's chef.
So Ansible is really taking off on her.
Yeah.
Oh God, they had like a bazillion fork requests per day, wasn't it? What did they for? Oh my God. They were having, I don't know, 5,000 fork requests a day? Or but it's like, just every day.
It's probably because, right?
Yeah, maybe.
And everybody's like, hey, the last version of that sucker didn't work. Let's
We got reassured. I wanted to change. Salt. Yeah, salt. Digital ocean. Yeah. I don't even know my
Google Container Services, GKG.
container security.
GK.
Yeah. So they're obviously like saying GC. Where's GC?
Compute engine.
Oh, okay. Is there a Google Compute Engine?
Yep.
So they should at least spell container with it.
Yeah. It's gonna go weird, yeah.
I haven't played with that Amazon last container service yet. I think last time we were using Amazon, so I had to do containers or something. I don't think they have a problem operating.
Makes some sense.
Yeah, that's the Apache one.
The what?
Apache is the sorry.
Mesos.
No.
I don't know the Apache project. Mesos.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Right.
Apache.
Yeah, Mesos is cool.
Yeah, even that sounds good. I wonder where they.
Yeah, new stack survey, March 2016.
Look at where OpenShift is in that list.
They're at 11%. Right with Puppet Labs.
Yeah.
Kubernetes.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. I don't know if anybody else has any questions, comments.
That was really good.
Did you say something? Colin?
Yeah, no, I said that was really good. That was really interesting.
All right. Well, that concludes our broadcast
And lunch.
and lunch. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, Sajid.
And we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye-bye.